alcohol. And it's lethal, as you can imagine, because you don't know how these medications are interacting with each other, let alone the alcohol consumption. So, what do we do? I mean, people need pain medication. You go to the dentist and you get hydrocodone and for a tooth extraction or a root canal or something. And, what do you do with that medication? There are several options. You can obtain these through Eastern Idaho Public Health for free, no charge. You just walk in, tell them you want a medication lockbox, and they'll just give it to you. Put a combination in, you can lock up your medication that's necessary, Adderall. If you have a regular prescription medication that could potentially be abused. The other one is if you're done with it, like you're done with your, your hydrocodone from your tooth root canal, we have these available for you if you want to take a few after the class. You just take this packet, you dump it right in your prescription bottle, add water. The labels or the directions are on the back, shake it up. And this is what it does to your medication. It renders it useless and you can just put it right in the trash. Don't just throw them in the trash and don't just flush them down the toilet. Like we get that all the time. And our city water people have said they have the hardest time filtering out these substances from our water supply. So don't flush them down the toilet, just dispose of them properly. It's hard for them to filter it.
So throwing it away even in the garbage can is not
correct, because then it goes into our landfill, seeps into the ground, and I guarantee you and many, many, many others would be doing it. And so they just asked if we dispose of it properly.
That's the right way to do it.
Yes.
Put it in the trash after
that. Or you can also get these through Eastern Idaho Public Health. This is activated charcoal. Same thing, you just pour your medicine in here, add water, shake it, and you can throw it in the trash can. It renders the medication useless.
And that is whether it's 3 pills or 30 pills.
Correct. This works no matter how many pills you have. You can have, there are limits on here, but it's pretty high.
There also are drop boxes that you can take them to. I know there's some at the sheriff's office or certain pharmacies. You can just go and drop them back, and then they'll dispose of them that way.
Yeah. We do have a drug take back event on the 23rd of this month at CEI in Idaho Falls. It's in conjunction with the Drug Enforcement Agency and the Sheriff's Office. You can bring any unused medication, prescription and non-prescription, and the DEA will take it right there and just dispose of it. We do them twice a year. Our next one is coming up on the 23rd, and we get donuts that you're not using anymore. And the reason for this is it just keeps it out of the wrong hands. People are selling their houses, especially right now. It's a very common trend for people to say, oh, I'm interested in your house. They come in with a real estate agent and all they're doing is looking through your medicine cabinets for prescriptions. That's it. They find, 10 hydrocodone pills and that's $450 for them. So it's important that you just store it properly, dispose of it properly, and just keep it out of the wrong hands.
Keep going. One more.
They are. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I know Walgreens has them in Idaho Falls on both locations. And I believe the sheriff's office here in Rigby should have one. If not, I know the sheriff's office in Idaho Falls does. And we don't ask any questions. You just bring it, we put it in a box, and the DEA takes it and so.
All right, so the next substance is inhalants. This is very common among the younger teens, so middle school age group, just because it's so, they're common household items that you can just get. So they're usually inhaled and it just creates that psychoactive and mind altering effect. Just give them a little bit of that high. Some common examples are listed here on that side. Again, just common household items. So whipped cream, gasoline, glue, markers, spray paint, or just paint in general. Whiteout dust spray or dust remover. This is a very common one right now. That's what we're seeing mostly. So nail polish remover as well. So how are they how are they abused? So you can just sniff it or inhale it, kind of like this picture is showing. Another way is called bagging. So it's just when the substance is sprayed into a bag and then inhaled that way. Or there's called huffing, which is when the substance is like soaked on a rag and then the rag is just like stuffed in the mouth, or then the rag is put in a bag and then it's huffed that way. So very common, some common signs here, just paint stains on the clothes or on the body. Obviously, if like spray paint was sprayed in a bag, and then you would see kind of the residue around the mouth there. Spots and sores around the mouth or the nose, a red nose or runny nose, chemical breath or chemical odor in general. I mean, if you walk into your kid's room and it smells like gasoline, probably a red flag. And then just obviously those signs of the effects of the psychoactive effects from the substances. So, okay, go ahead and move on.
I have a question from one of the online participants, just wondering if they could get a copy of the slides after the presentation. I don't know if you guys do that or not.
We don't typically, but we'd be happy to come and present.
Okay, we just have a lot of notes and things in that.
Absolutely.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that it?
Yep. Okay.
Okay, over the counter, another epidemic among teenagers, particularly the younger kids. Again, these are legally obtained. These are something they could go to Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Brolams, they can purchase it themselves. They don't need a prescription and they can just buy them. So what's the appeal to buying some of these medications, right? It's the DXM or the dextromethorphan, which is the ingredient. It kind of has a similar effect to heroin. And it has to be consumed in large amounts. So they're not going to, like, they might consume a whole box of NyQuil or Robitussin DM at one time. It used to be that they would like drink the bottle and then it's combined with typically a fruit juice to kind of mask the nasty taste of NyQuil. But now it's more frequent that they're abusing the capsules because they don't have to deal with the nasty taste. And so they're consuming like a whole punch pack at once. And you can also purchase this DXM powder online. Again, you don't need a prescription, you don't need an ID. You can just go online and purchase this DXM powder. You don't know the concentration of DXM when you do that. It's highly dangerous. But again, addiction has no boundaries, right? When someone is addicted, they will participate in highly risky behavior just for that high. Another one, just real quick, pseudoephedrine. I don't know if anyone knows that it's behind the pharmacy counter. Have you noticed that over the last 10 years or so? I know in my lifetime, it's gone from being on the shelf to behind the counter. And that's because the pseudoephedrine is the main ingredient in meth. So when someone cooks meth, they use pseudoephedrine, that's the main ingredient. And so now you have to present an ID and you can only purchase like one at a time. Again, addicts find ways around that. They'll go and they'll purchase 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there, 2 or 3, and cook small batches. But that is the reason it's behind the counter. And you'll notice that most of these DXM medications are now found behind the pharmacy counter or more and more for that exact reason.
So next we have kratom. This is legal here in Idaho. It's a natural, it's a tropical tree. It's consumed basically through the leaves. It gives a different effect depending on how much is consumed. So a small dosage would create like a stimulant effect. A large dose would create a sedative effect. Again, this is legal here in Idaho, which is crazy to me. It can lead to addiction, just like any other drug. So So the Poison Control Center reported that Idaho has the highest kratom exposure rate in the United States. And this can just be purchased in smoke shops here, in botanical stores, or just online. And it's not really regulated at all.
You know, I just took my daughter to college in Utah to Brigham Young University, Provo. And right off the exit ramp, there's a building, and the whole side of the building is kratom in big letters. Kratom sold here, right by the university. It's kind of scary, but it has the same effects as
I don't know what to think of.
I don't know.
Okay, next we have Imodium AD. This is an antidiarrheal medicine. If taken in large quantities, it produces the same euphoric opioid-like effect. So large quantities, this means over 100 pills. So someone would have to take. That does not sound like a pleasant experience. Someone would have to be very desperate, but that just shows like to what extent some users are willing to go to produce those same effects.
Telltale sign.
Antidiarrheal.
Yeah. But it's, again, addiction has no boundaries, right? When you're desperate, you're desperate. But we have law enforcement has seen several cases of this in our area. So,
And we actually just taught a class last week, and someone said that they were working at Rollins, and they now don't put this out in large quantities because people were coming through and just buying, the whole shelf worth that they had, so they can't put them out in large quantities for that reason.
so if Imodium AD is behind the counter now you know why. So we're gonna have to get everything from the pharmacy.
The last one that we want to talk about is Benzodrex. This is also kind of a new one that we have discovered as we've gone to different trainings and things like that. This is a nasal decongestant. It gives the similar effect or the similar experience as if someone were taking meth. So they're able to experience that high for about 8 hours. So how is this being used? There's a cotton ball in each one of these inhalers. So they take the cotton ball out, and usually it's just swallowed, or because the cotton ball has all of the medicine on it, right? So they'll either just swallow it, or they'll soak the cotton ball in like lemon juice or something, and for a few hours, and then they'll just drink that, or they'll use that to inject into themselves. So a couple of different ways that way, but you can buy this in large amounts on Amazon as well.
Like 20 packs.
Yeah, you're not going to need that much. I mean, this lasts a long time.
So if you're buying large quantities, or you notice your child is like, oh, I want to, buy Benzodrex, can you just get it for me? You might want to be a little suspicious.
And then we just have some slang terms listed. Obviously, the slang terms are dependent on which substance is being used. Sarah talked about like the robo or robo tripping. That's obviously used with the NyQuil. So candy decks, just kind of. All right, we'll go ahead and move on.
Again, vaping, another epidemic. And when I say epidemic, it's an epidemic. We teach in many most, I think if not all of the junior high schools in Idaho Falls. And it is, we just hear so much that just shocks us, and we thought we heard it all. What is a vape? It's a device that it has 3 components. There's a battery, some are rechargeable, some are disposable, but there is some sort of power source. There is a heating coil, and there is a compartment for e-juice, mod, juice, it's called, there's several terms for it. The juice is heated using that coil, which is often made from alloys such as tin, nickel, lead, aluminum. All of those microparticles of metals are then like when it's heated, they're transported into the juice, and then the user is inhaling those toxic metals along with a myriad of other chemicals, which we could go on and on about, that are in these e-juices. So common brands are Juuls, Blue, Sorin Drops. I mean, again, the list goes on and on. Just something to note, one single Juul vape, Juul is a brand, one single Juul vape, this is, it is the equivalent of 20 cigarettes in one Juul, which is a pack of cigarettes. So I'll kind of turn this a little bit. And so a pack of cigarettes in one of these. This is a Huth bar, but this is kind of what Juul looks like. It's about this size. This is another one, but yeah, a pack of cigarettes, enough nicotine, the equivalent of packs of smoking cigarettes. And kids don't know this, like they don't know what they're consuming. So a lot of the legislation that restricts marketing of cigarettes does not apply to vapes yet. Legislation hasn't caught up. And so like Abby's just going to talk a little bit about the marketing and kind of.
Yeah, so up top is, yeah, you have a question?
Yeah.
One Juul vape, how long does it take to get through that?
It just depends. You know, you have people that smoke 1 cigarette a day, 2 a day, 3 a day, and you have people that smoke more than a pack. It just kind of depends on what that nicotine craving is for them.
It depends on how much e-juice is in each vape as well. How many puffs you get per vape. It kind of just depends. So we have 2 different advertisements up here. The one with the yellow background is an advertisement for a Juul vape. And then to the left is an advertisement for a cigarette company. So this was obviously banned because of the legislation laws that were passed, but there's no laws regulating the advertisements for vapes. So, I mean, you can just look at those. They look very, very similar. And it's not regulated. They don't require anything or ban anything with these markets.
Just kind of something of note. So being in the schools, we hear a lot, kids are seeing these like vape ads religiously on YouTube. YouTube and Snapchat are probably the 2 most common places they're seeing these ads, both anti-vape and vape ads, pro-vape ads. I know, Dude Perfect, a lot of the kids are like, oh, I was watching Dude Perfect and the vape ad came on, or Mr. Beast, and which are 2, my son watches Mr. Beast and Dude Perfect. And so I asked him, are you seeing vape ads? He's like, yeah, I want anti-vape ad ones. So just have those conversations, because I can guarantee they're not telling your child the truth. They're not being honest. They're being marketed as a safe alternative to smoking. They're being told that they're only vaping juice, like it's flavoring. There's nothing in it of any harm. The reality is they studied all the vape juices on the market at the time that claimed to have no nicotine in them or nicotine free, and 92% of them came back with some amount of nicotine. And so kids are vaping this and they're thinking, oh, it's just flavoring, which shouldn't be in our lungs anyway. Our lungs are not designed to inhale vapor aerosol. That's what it is. It's an aerosol and all the chemicals associated with it, but chances are they're getting some sort of nicotine, and in any amount, and nicotine is nicotine. It's addictive in a little bit or a lot. So, yes. Oh, sorry.
A couple things. So also it doesn't smell like a cigarette. It smells really good, like watermelon or strawberry. So that's something to look for. But so you mentioned you go to all the Idaho Falls schools, and I know for a fact I have 4 teenagers in this district that vaping is a huge issue in this district. Do you guys plan to reach out to the Jefferson school district at all and do your presentation with them?
So our grant only allows us to do it in the Bonneville County boundaries, unfortunately.
Because this
we
would
wish
be
we want
excellent
to.
education for our
Yes.
students and parents, like I'm looking at those and I know that a lot of them, I know because I work at the high school and I've worked at other high schools previously, so I know what to look for. They can look like Sharpies, they can look like pens. But a lot of parents they don't even realize that they could go through, they could search their kid's backpack
And
and there
not have
could
a
be
clue.
a vape in there and they wouldn't even know it.
And that's why we do this. We have, so this is designed as a parenting class. Clearly, this is for adults. We don't want kids to get any ideas. When we're in the schools and we're teaching about vaping, we're specifically telling the kids, like the chemicals, the same chemicals as like propylene glycol that's in antifreeze. It's in vape juice and, formaldehyde and diacetyl and all these chemicals that are in, all these other things that you would never even in a million years ingest into your body are in vape juice. And so, so we do go more into depth with the students. We go in 5 times and we would love to branch out. Unfortunately, our grant gives us the parameters that, not that can't change over time, but as of right now. So part of the parent education class like this that we do, I did mention, we kind of have condensed it a little bit. We bring this display board with us. So can you identify which of these are vapes and which are not vapes? Some are not. Some are obviously vapes. Can everybody see it okay?
And the vapes that we do have on this board were actually confiscated from a middle school in Idaho Falls.
So tell us which ones are vapes that we would think are not.
There's a few that are really noticeable, right? 13 obviously is a vape, 11 and 8 are. But what about
12?
12 and 7? One is, one isn't.
12 is, 7 is.
So 12, right? It looks
Has a
like
pin
one, but
clip.
it has a pin cap on it and then pull it off and it's a vape, right? So easy, just put the pin cap on, looks like a normal pin.
You would never see that in your child unless you were suspicious and you knew what you were looking for. So another very, very common trend is to hollow out a Sharpie, one of the big Sharpies, and your jewel fits or your puff bar fits right in there. You would never know that is vaping. That's a very,
So that's just hold the canister. and it
Correct.
doesn't have the
there's
Foil
no,
in it
it's
or
hollowed out.
Yeah, we just cut the top off and took the pad out.
So easy to do, but that's another common trend. They're designed to look like everyday items, and I always tell my kids, if you have to hide it from me, then you shouldn't be doing it, right? And so why are these companies, big tobacco, making them look like common household items or everyday items?
Like 16 or number 1. One is a vape, one is not. Or 4. 4 is pretty similar as well. What do you guys think for those ones? 16, yes? No. No, yeah, it's a battery pack, but I mean, how similar is that to number 1 and number 4? Looks very, very similar, right?
So this, I know personally have highlighters that look like these. This is a vape. Right here, but I
How
know.
similar is it to like this one, which is not a vape, right?
The tobacco companies, are these the same companies who like deciding pot off and they're selling cigarettes at the same ingredient?
This is definitely about money for them. It's about their pockets. They know that if they can market now toward teens, make it appeal safe, make it a healthy alternative, then they will have a customer for life. If they can just, and it's the FDA only regulates the sale of vapes, like how old you have to be. They don't regulate what goes in the vape juice. So when you're finding chemicals like propylene glycol and antifreeze or formaldehyde is used to preserve dead bodies, and these chemicals are in there, that's not regulated. The FDA doesn't send inspectors to these plants or these factories and say, oh, what's that chemical you're dumping in there? And it's just scary because kids believe it. They believe what they're told. a lot of the marketing we're getting are like, it's called the depression stick. Or are you having trouble focusing in school? Like, just vape. I mean, I get kids asking if it's okay to vape melatonin. I mean, the list goes on and on. And the reality is no, like your body, your lungs are not designed to have any of these chemicals, these aerosols in them. That's not how they were designed.